The 7-year itch. You've probably heard about it in relationships, but what about business? So today I want to talk about something that I personally have experienced twice now in my business career, and that is the 8-year business itch. So if you haven't heard this before, in the relationship circles, there is something known as the 7-year itch. There is a trend that I've also experienced in my personal life and relationships, where around the 7-year mark, that's where you'll find a lot of relationships come to an end. 6.5, 7 years, it's around that 7-year mark that maybe if you look at your own relationships or people in your world, you might start to notice it, that there's a trend that around the 7-year mark is when divorces happen, relationships come to an end, and it's an actually studied phenomenon. Take a look and check it out. What I think there also is a phenomenon that I've personally experienced, and in talking to other business owners, seems to be a bit of a phenomenon that's there too. However, the trend I've noticed is it's not 7 years in business, it's about 8. So similar to a relationship coming to an end, around the 8-year mark, you might start to go, I'm ready to burn it all down. I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to get out. Like, I'm over my business. It needs more from me than I'm willing to give it. And so at this point, you got a couple of options. If you hit this point, you go, okay, I'm out. Like, I've grown, I've changed. This business doesn't serve me. I'm not even interested in what the business does anymore. So you can go, I'm going to get out of the business. You could sell it. You could shut it down. I guess it really depends on where you are financially as to whether it's worth shutting down or whether it's worth selling. Personally, I think there's always going to be something to sell. If you are in a position where you're like, I'm going to shut down, just know that, if you've got a list of emails or you've got something, you've probably got a few assets that you could sell. You might not sell the whole business, but maybe you could sell off some of the assets as you shut down the business. Or you sell the business and you go and move on to something else. And that's what I did with my IT company. In 2011, sold my IT company I'd been running with my father. And that was 8 years after we'd been running it for 8 years. And I was over it. I'd written my first book. I was ready to go, you know what? I don't want to be this IT guy anymore. I want to be a big, successful business guy. And so we sold the business, got out. And I then spent the next 4 years trying to figure out who the hell I was, redefine who am I without this business that I'd had for 8 years. So that happened. And then also automation agency, my current business, around the 8-year mark, which was about a year and a bit ago, I kind of hit a similar point where I was like, is this really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? Like, I like speaking. My business doesn't let me speak. All of a sudden, I was like, these are all these things I'd like to do. I have these outlets that I'd like to be able to have, like a podcast like this, to share business advice outside of marketing, automation, and tech. But I felt trapped that my business couldn't do that. And so that's the second option is, instead of selling or getting out of your business, you can go, okay, how do I identify what are the needs that I have that are missing? What is it that the business is not giving me? And then can I get that within the business, or can I get it outside of the business in other ways? And so ultimately this podcast is part of my way of combating that 8-year itch that happens in the business. It allows me to talk about the things that I actually truly, really love talking about: money, business models, systemizing, less about the technology piece. Like, I'll talk a bit about that in episodes because technology is a tool, but it's not the thing that I'm passionate about like I was, say, 9 years ago. So you've got to identify where are you up to. If you hit this 8-year itch, you got to go, okay, what is missing for me? Because it can be really easy to go, okay, yep, I'm out, I'm over the business, time to sell. But this second time around, when it happened to me, I was like, okay, I see what's happening. I've been through this before. I've made the sale. I've left the business. I've left the industry before. Is that actually what I want to do? Is that the smart move right now? And ultimately, I had to go through a little bit of a soul search to go, okay, how do I meet my other needs? And then secondly, how do I get re-inspired and fall back in love with your business? And sometimes what you need to fall back in love with your business is a shift in perspective, a shift in how you think about your business. Because maybe when you first started your business, it was about, how do I, live? How do I survive? How do I get money in my pocket? And then as you succeed and your business grows, as mine has, and you've got bigger teams and you've got all these things, you start to go, okay, maybe it's not about the income that I'm earning anymore. I'm looking for something more impactful. Maybe I'm now looking to make impact on someone. So the business was all about income producing. Now you're producing the income, it's not fulfilling. And so you got to go, okay, now how do I make a bigger impact? And the bigger impact might be in, pivoting or shifting the product and service to be more impactful, who you're serving to. It could be in going, okay, actually, it's not about what we deliver to clients. The impact's in the teams. Like, I've got a large team, so a big part of my impact fulfillment comes from the impact we make on all these families that we're able to put food on the table for through our teams who work with us. And then it could also be through, well, can I create an impact through just content and education outside of the business? Maybe the business is a done-for-you service like automation agency, but there's a way of creating that impact through education outside of it or around the business model and the operation. So you got to look for ways that you can create impact. It can also be through charity givings and giving. Maybe you could do a 1% pledge where you give 1% of your profits away. I can't tell you what's going to make an impact because what's important to you is going to be different to what's important to me. But if you hit that level and you're going, I'm ready to sell, ask yourself, what is it about the business that you no longer enjoy? It could be that you're in a role in the business that you don't enjoy anymore. And actually what you need to do is replace yourself as CEO or leader, and you need to go back down the rungs and be like a coder or a customer service rep or, a coach, because maybe that was actually what fuels your heart, fuels your soul and fire to just go, I know I'm making a difference. That now when you're at the higher levels of your business, you're successful and you're happy with the money and you're happy with the freedom, but you're not happy with actually the day-to-day impacts that's happening on you and on others. So the 7-year itch in relationships. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you or you've gotten through it. But just like with a relationship, just because you hit that 7-year itch doesn't mean that every relationship ends at 7 years. And same with your business. If you hit that 8-year itch in your business, it doesn't mean that you have to then sell the business. You have to get out. You've lost your passion. It's time to go. No, it just requires a shift in your thinking about where the business sits and how you view the business. And it requires you to go, okay, well, if I did sell, what am I going to do next? You got to make a decision. So I hope that's been helpful. If you know someone who's currently going through that 8-year itch, share this episode with them. Let them know that they're not alone. Always happy to answer any questions. So if they need some questions answered, they can reach out to us at rising.show. Until next time, keep up the journey. You've been listening to Entrepreneurs Rising. Thank you, dear listener, for tuning in. I appreciate your time and look forward to connecting in future episodes. If you would like show notes or any resources from today's episode, you can find them at rising.show. Rising.show. You can find show notes for this episode and all other episodes, as well as links to socials and the ability to reach out and connect with me, make your suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, keep up the journey.